Let's finish our last block today for Falling for Autumn. Hi everyone, Cristin here, and we are continuing with our Falling for Autumn quilt with our sponsor, Daylily Fabric Shop. So real quick, I'll give you a link here for you to purchase from Daylily Fabric, our sponsor. Underneath this video has all the information about our coupon code, and there's still plenty of time to join in. So did you make the banner yesterday? The pennant, it's called a pennant. I keep calling it a banner, but did you make your pennant yesterday, and did you personalize it? I'm so happy with mine. I think that was so fun. I absolutely love how that turned out. Isn't that great? And the Go team, or whatever it said before, was great also. But Go 49ers, that is perfect for my team. I love how that turned out. That was really fun. So make sure to share in the group, in the Cristin Creates group on Facebook, if you haven't already. Share your pennant and how you're doing with your quilt and what part you're on, and if you're staying in with the group or if you're falling behind, let me know. So today we're actually going to do the last block of section 4, the last block of our Falling for Autumn quilt. How exciting is that? I'm very excited. So like I said, we finished up our pennant, which has part of section 4, and then we just have this one block that's down here, and then we have this other part that's already done for section 4. So that will finish up section 4, and then we have, of course, the beautiful section 3 with our personalizations. I love this. This was so fun. I love how this has turned out. And then section 1 and 2 with those houses and the sweater blocks and more personalizations there. So this has just been a really fun quilt. I have really enjoyed this quilt. I hope you have too. So like I said, last block today. So grab your packet if you made packets. So our packet for today, we're going to do the Squirrels and Acorns block. It is on page 49 of our Falling for Autumn book. All right, so the Squirrels and Acorns block. And there's not much to this. I'm thinking about adding to mine, just so you know, and as always, that is totally optional. So let's go ahead and talk about what we need for today. So the first thing is our main background, our main fabric, which mine has little pieces of squirrel fur on there. We'll have to look out for that. That squirrel fur gets a little bit of everywhere. I think it's going to go this way. It's going to be a large piece of fabric. And this one, our main fabric, you can see it is a brown stripe fabric that will be so pretty with the squirrels and with all the autumn colors. It'll be so fun, and with the quilting that is coming up. So our main background fabric, is 10.5 by 8.5, 10.5 by 8.5. So you can see that means that it is longer and then the shorter. So longer side. 10.5 by 8.5. That means that our stripes are vertical. I showed in the prep video how to cut your fabric so that it is going the right direction on the directional fabric. Again, totally optional though. If your stripes are going horizontally, your quilt your way, that's okay, not a problem. All right, so main fabric 10.5 by 8.5. All right, make sure to back this with fusible stabilizer. This is a really big piece of fabric, really big one, so make sure to back it with fusible backing so that we don't get puckering on this large fabric. So again, 10.5 by 8.5 for our main fabric. All right, and then we have just a couple of so we have, just a couple of applique pieces, not too much. So for the tummies of the squirrels, it is a gold silky solid. No design to this, just plain gold silky solid. And this one we're going to have at 6 by 3. So we'll lay this down and it'll work for both of the tummies on the squirrels. All right, so 6 by 3. I backed mine with fusible stabilizer, as I've said throughout this project. That's totally optional. It does say in the book to iron fusible backing to the wrong side of all background fabric. So that's the main fabric. All right, so but on the applique pieces, I choose to do it as well. I just find it makes it easier for cutting, and it makes it definitely no puckering, and it lays so solid and clean, and just no bubbling or issues at all. So that's my personal preference. Again, totally optional. So on our tummies fabric, yellow golden silky solid at 6x3, 6x3 for this. All right. And then we have that plush fabric. That's the one that's making a mess. So this is super pretty. And it does feel like, I was thinking, I wonder if there's a nap to it. And it's really kind of soft both sides. So I'm not sure that it matters too much. But anyway, you can check it out when you lay it down and see which way feels the softest. So this was in our embellishment kit, if I recall. Maybe it was the fabric kit. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. You'd have to look through the prep video to see where we got it. But it is a plush fabric. It's called chestnut plush fabric. And you can see it is like, it's like a little mini rug, a little soft mini rug. It's so pretty. Don't back this with fusible stabilizer. I don't think it didn't say to, and that doesn't seem like a good idea to me. I generally don't like to iron something like this, so I didn't put it on mine. It's thick enough, it should be okay. Plus we're going to have that base. Anyway, so on this one, this is the chestnut plush fabric, and it's going to be 8x4. I didn't cut mine, it just came this way. This is the size that we got in our pack. So 8x4 for the chestnut plush fabric. All right, and like I said, I did not back mine with fusible stabilizer. I'm going to just leave it as is. All right, it's going to be messy when we cut it. Be prepared for that. All right, and then we have Flexifoam. So the Flexifoam is for the tummy's base. So this will go, we'll put this down first, is my assumption, before we do that yellow fabric. So this one, it is going to be 6x3, just like that tummy's fabric. So just like our golden fabric, 6x3, and this is Flexifoam. It was in our embellishment kit, if I recall. 6x3 for the Flexifoam. All right, and then the only other thing that we need, we're going to need wash away topping. So on top of that plush fabric, we're definitely going to want to have this down so that our foot doesn't get stuck when it's gliding over to do our stitching. So wash away topping, we're going to want one piece that is 9x5. All right, wash away topping 9x5. Like I've said before, it's the one with the lighter blue and it says topping. That's the big difference. The other one, the darker teal one, is called wash away stabilizer. That goes in the hoop. This one is the topping. So wash away topping. All right, and then 9x5 for this. Okay, and then we are going to quilt this. So the quilting, we're going to align the block and with the quilting design and the embroidery design centered, so no problems there. And the batting, we are going to use 9x7. 9x7 for our batting. All right, 9x7, large piece of batting, 9x7. All right, and then we are going to quilt this with Weave 2. I think that'll be so cute. That's the one that I think of, like Argyle, when I see that. So pretty. I like the sweaters. It's a really pretty one. That will be a very pretty background for our squirrels. So Weave 2, it's in the bundle of the quilting for the Falling for Autumn bundle. And you can get that on the Kimberbell website. Make sure to use our sponsor's affiliate link, which is underneath the video in the video notes. Just click on that and then type autumn or falling, something like that, to be able to pull it up. Weave 2 in a 6x8 horizontal design. That's the quilting we're going to use today. Weave 2 in a 6x8 horizontal. So if, all right, and if you are doing quilting in a 5x7 hoop, that'll still work. You would do a 4x6 quilting design twice. 4x6 2 times, double hoop it, and you'll be all good to go to get your 6x8 quilting. 4x6 quilting design in the horizontal Weave 2. All right, and then let's see. So like I said, I'm thinking about changing mine just a little bit. There's quite a bit of space in between our, I want to also mention the acorns. So the acorns, if you bought the embellishment kit, they are in our embellishment kit. We'll do that later at the very end. We will do our embellishments. Here they are here, so you can see. But if you didn't buy the embellishment kit, they gave you an option. It's on the CD. It is a stitched acorn, so that you can do that if you choose. You can either have the acorn that stands out, or you can have one that is stitched. Either way will work fine, and that is on the CD as a separate item. So we'll add the dimensional acorns after. So if you look, I'm going to cover my notes here so you don't see what I'm up to. But if you look, there's quite a bit of space here. And there isn't a little sign or tag that's going here. So I'm thinking of adding a couple of words, and I haven't totally decided yet, and I haven't started looking at what would work well. I have under my hidden notes there, I've got a few ideas. So I'm thinking about doing that. Again, totally optional if you choose to add to your quilt, personalize it a little bit, or leave it as is. Either way will be fine. So last block, are you so excited? Oh my gosh, I'm really excited. Last block. We still have, keep in mind, before we get too excited, we still have inner borders, outer borders, backing, binding, and embellishing. So we still have plenty to do, but we're done with the blocks after this one. That's pretty exciting. So let's go ahead. I'm going to bring you over to the computer. I'm going to add in the quilting design and then the squirrel design, and possibly add in a few little words, maybe. That's what I'm thinking. I think that would be pretty cute, and I love personalizing it. So I'll show you that and how to do it. And don't forget to share your pennant. If you personalized your pennant, I really want to see it. Hey everyone, so I'm at my computer now, and like I mentioned, I want to add a little something to my squirrels block. So I'm going to just show you how to do that, and I'm going to do it. I'm gonna choose one that's a little bit more difficult just to be able to show you how. And it's not difficult, but there are easier options. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to open up Embroidery Essentials. That's the embroidery software that I prefer. I'm going to move this over just a tiny bit, not too much. All right, so down here at the bottom, it says I'm on my 6x10 hoop. I'm going to need a larger hoop because our quilting design is 6x8. So a 6-inch design is not going to fit in a 6x10 hoop unless we take out steps 3 and 4. But I'm going to actually leave my 6x10 hoop for now so that I can work on the other part that I want. And then when I add in my quilting, I will make my hoop bigger. So if you're not on the hoop size that you want, go on to this preferences folder, and I'll show that in a moment as well when I need to change my hoop size. But preferences folder, and then choose the hoop size you want, say okay, and then click on this compass button and click on H. Now I am going to double click on this. I showed you yesterday, if you double click down here at the bottom where it says 6x10 hoop, if you double click on that, it turns your hoop, it rotates it. So that is very helpful. So I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to bring in that squirrels design first. Usually we bring in the quilting first, but I don't want that to muddle and make it harder to see the changes that I'm going to make to the squirrels block. So I'm going to add that in after, and then I'll just move it. So I'm going to go to merge stitch file and Falling for Autumn and the quilt, and I am looking for the squirrels block. I think it was called Squirrels and Acorns, something like that. Just scrolling down here looking for it. There it is right there. Squirrels and Acorns. It's a 5x7 block, but like I said, the quilting is 6x8, so we will need a larger hoop. If you're using a 5x7 hoop, there is a PDF. Actually, you don't need the PDF for the squirrels, you just need it for the quilting, and we went over that on the very first block. So I'm going to double click on the Squirrels and Acorns block. It is sideways, so I'm going to click on the design and I'm going to rotate it. Right up here, there's 2 blue arrows, a left one and a right one. I'm going to click on the right arrow, and you have to have the design selected, of course, to tell it what design that you want to rotate. So that's great. That is, you can see from the black squares that it is all centered. So then that's great. Now I've decided I want to add in some wording, and I already tested it, and so I'm going to bring that test design in to show you. I'm going to click on File, New Page, and this is just for you to be able to see. I'm going to rotate that hoop again, and then I'm going to bring in this working file. So you can always do, especially when it comes to wording, if you save it as a working file, then you can go back and make changes to it. And that's really, really helpful, especially when using fonts or words. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag that over, and you can see it's messy. And what I'm doing is I'm going to add in the wording sharing is caring, as you can see. But I tried out a bunch of different fonts, and I just wanted to see what I like best. And so I'm going to quickly tell you what all of these are, just so that in case you like a different one than what I have. So I'm going to start on this middle one. If I click on that, I can see that the design, I'm going to move this over so my head's not in the way. All right, so I can see down here in this letters box, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do all of this, but right now I'm just telling you the different designs in case you see one that you like. So this is Designs by Juju Willie in a 1-inch Willie. All right, that's that first one, and I really like that. It's a very cute design. That R is pretty big, but you could shrink down just the R if you wanted, and I'll show you real quick how to do that. You would click on the design and then click on the letter specifically, that green box on the letter, and then you can shrink it down. All right, so you absolutely could do that, because to me that R was just, it stood out too much. And that's what I didn't like. Same with the A. If you wanted to shrink that down, that would be actually really cute. And you know, it's funny, I didn't do that while I was testing all of these. That would have been a good idea, because that is a really cute font. And now I'm kind of leaning toward that, but that would have been really easy to do. Should have thought of that. That's funny. I might actually change my mind on which one I'm going to do. But so this is Willie, like I said, Designs by Juju. When you click on what you that typed out with your word, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute, but when you click on it, it tells you in this properties folder in the letters tab, it tells you the font, and this is Designs by Juju Willie in a 1-inch. And now that I changed that A and the R, I'm liking it a lot better. So I'm just clicking outside to look at it. All right, so then this one over here, if you really like this one, this is Designs by Juju board book, and this one is in a 3/4 inch design. All right, and same thing, if you click on any of the squares, you can make some changes on it, but that one is great as it is. All right, and then this one, it is Designs by Juju Yazoo in a 3/4 inch, and that is cute. It's got a different R. See how it's got that little angle on that? I thought that was cute. All right, and this one is from Itch to Stitch, and I've mentioned before, Itch to Stitch is no longer in business, but most of their designs were purchased by Designs by Juju. So if you type marker into Designs by Juju, hopefully you should be able to find this design, or this font, I should say. So it's Itch to Stitch marker in a 7.75, so a 3/4 inch design, and you should be able to find it on Designs by Juju. All right, so that's that one. And then this one, I really like this one, and I was leaning toward this one. This is also Itch to Stitch. It's called What a Time. So again, you should be able to find it on Designs by Juju, and it's in a 3/4 inch. All right, and any of these script fonts, you have to make adjustments to it, and I'll show that. And that's why I was leaning toward one that is a script, just so that it gives you some more things to figure out how to do. All right, and then this one is Stitchtopia favorite color in a 1-inch, and that's, I didn't have to make any changes to that. I think I shrunk down the space between the line space, but that was it. So Stitchtopia favorite color 1-inch. And then this one is actually one of my very favorite fonts. I don't think I'm going to use it just because I didn't like the capital I. I thought it was a little bit too dressy for this box, for this block. But this one, when I click on it, it is Stitchtopia Maya in a 1-inch. And I use Maya a lot. I like this one a lot. So Stitchtopia Maya, and that looks very good. The one I bypassed was the one I was leaning toward. This one is Designs by Juju Lily in a 1-inch. And I'm leaning toward that mostly because it's a script font, and I can show you lots of things of how to work with a script font. But now I'm really liking this one too. And there are some small changes. I don't know, but so you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just bring in this Lily font and go from there and show you how to do that, and then I'll decide after that which one I want to do. All right, so I'm going to go back to Untitled 1. This one was just, it's the working file. It's got all of the designs and already changed all the lettering and stuff just so that you could see what it looks like so that you can decide what you like if you decide that you want to add some wording. And keep in mind that the font that you choose, it will depend on the wording that you use because, you know, sometimes you'll get a weird letter that just doesn't look right. And so it will depend on the wording you use. So I'm going to go back to Untitled 1. And then I'm going to just basically start from the beginning. Oh, I'm on, sorry, that was Untitled 1, Untitled 2. That's interesting. Oh, it seems to have opened up. I thought we opened up just the squirrels, but that, it seemed to have added on to that. It did. So here's our squirrels. So you know what I did is I was on our regular Untitled 1 before I opened up. I dragged it over to the one that was open. So we have squirrels on here twice. You would not want to do that, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this. I'm going to say Control C, go to Untitled 2 and say Control V, just because it should have been in its own window by itself. So Untitled 2, I've got just my squirrels. And then I'm going to go ahead and just start right fresh in bringing in words so that you can see how to do that. So right here, if you click on this Create Letters, it will bring in this ABC. Now I know that I want 2 lines of text and I want it centered. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on this multi-line text tool right here, this little button. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to type in sharing and then return is caring, so that it's in a 2-line text, and I'm going to say set. All right. Now remember that this is that font I was telling you about yesterday that is a block style font that you receive automatically when you purchase some Brilliance Essentials. It is native to this program and that looks great. You could do that one. But I've decided I'm going to try Lily. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this. I'm going to bring this down just because it's bugging me to have it there. It shouldn't be there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this arrow and then all of the fonts that I have loaded are in here and I would just scroll down here until I see something that I like to try out. And I actually already tested most of these, if not all, to find what I liked for this specific block with this specific wording. So I've already done the homework as you saw on the earlier tab. So I'm just looking for Lily right now. It should be under DBJJL. Let's see, there it is right there. All right, so DBJJL, I think I used the 1 inch. There is a 3/4 inch though, so I'm going to do the 1 inch. All right, so this is what I was saying about using a script font. You can see that there are changes that need to be made. I want to bring them together. This N is way up here, that they're not connected, and I think a script font should be connected, and so I get to do all of that. And so I'm just going to show you quickly how to do that. It's very simple to do. So if I click on the first letter, the second letter, sorry, this S is fine. I'm going to click on this green box of this H, all right? And then I'm working just on that H, but I want to point something out. This bottom arrow down here, it's on the H, but it's the bottom arrow. If I click on that, watch what it does. It moves all the next letters. So all I wanted to do is bring that H over, but I don't want to have to do it on every single letter. So if I click that bottom arrow, it brings all of the letters for that word with me. All right, there's still changes to be made, but it makes it a little bit less. All right, so then I'm going to click on the A, that center green box, and then I'm going to click on this lower one. And again, I'm just going to bring it over. And I'm just going to line it up how I want it, as close as I want it, whatever, you get to decide that. All right, and then the center box for the R, I think all I need to do on this one is move it over. I want it to overlap with that A a bit because it is a script font and I like them to overlap a little bit. Now see, this N is way up here. I'm going to click on that N and click on that little green square in the middle, and I'm going to move it over, but I'm also going to bring it down. I forgot to bring the G with me, but that's okay. That doesn't matter actually in this part. So I'm going to bring this over, and then for the G, I'm going to click on the G, click on that center square, that green center square, and I'm just going to move it over. And I actually think I want that N to connect with the bottom part of the G. I think that looks better to me. than if I were to have it down here, right? So I'm going to have it up here. Do it however looks nice to you. All right, and that sharing word is done. Actually notice, so if I zoom in, see this little, that's overlapped too much. So you got to notice that too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the G, that center square, and then I think I can just use my arrow. Yep, I can. So I used the arrow key on my keyboard to move it over just a tiny bit. All right, so that is done. Sharing looks very good. I like that. And then is, I think that's fine. I don't think I need to make any changes on the is. So I'm going to jump to the caring. So for the A, I'm going to bring all of these letters over a bit so I have a little bit less moving around to do with all of these. And I'm just going to connect it to the C. And this is all just visual, so it's whatever looks good to you. So I'm clicking on the center square of the R and then that bottom one to be able to bring all the other letters over, and that looks good. Notice I'm way over the hoop. That's okay. I'm not done changing it. All right, so the I think is fine. The N has a lot of changes in my opinion, so I'm going to click on that center square, and then I'm just going to bring it down so that it lines up with the other letters and is connected to the I. All right, and then the G, last one, click on that center square, and I'm going to bring it over, and just like I did on the other G, I'm going to line it up with that bottom part of the N, making sure that I can't see it through the little hole, and I think I can a little too much, so let me see here. That actually is fine. I couldn't move it the tiniest bit, but it actually is really fine. Okay. All right, so then I'm going to zoom back out, and I don't like this spacing. This is a whole lot of spacing. So first off, what I'm going to do though, let me see this. I'm going to move it so that the black square is on that center line. Here's our center line. So that's my first part. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my shift button and watch what happens. When I click shift and I click any of the corner arrows, and it will resize itself from the center so that it will still keep it centered. Watch what I see. See, that black square is still centered. That is nice. I like that. So again, I don't like that there's too much space here, so I'm going to use these parts over here. You can slant the wording, you can space it, you can do the word space, you can do the line space. So I'm going to do the line space. And again, it's just visual, whatever works for you. I'm just going to click on it and see, oh, gee, is it going to make, I'm going to have to redo all of those edits. So start with that. I didn't realize that. Always start with your line space first, because I didn't realize that it takes away all of the changes that we made. That's a bummer. So I'm going to start over with that. That's a good learning lesson. All that stuff we did is gone. So start with the line space. That was my mistake. I didn't know it was going to do that. All right, so I'm going to quickly make these changes again. I'm just going to move it over. I am going to zoom in a little bit. So if I click on that compass button and I move this arrow to where I want to see, it's pretty much there anyway, and I'm just going to zoom in. So I'm going to go ahead and make these changes very quickly that I already showed you how to do. Sorry about that. I did not realize that changing the line space, it didn't do that last time, so I must have started with that line spacing. And one other thing I want to point out is when you are doing this and then you bring in different fonts, like earlier I tried a bunch of different fonts before deciding which one I like, it will already have that line spacing on all of them. So if you wanted to not have it, then it's kind of a problem. So you have to know going in that it's going to keep those formatting changes from where you had it before. All right, so the sharing looks good. Let me just check it. That looks good. Of course, I'm going to have to move it over, but that's fine. All right, and then back to the A. I'm going to move this all over here a little bit. And the R. The I is fine. The N needs some big changes, so I'm just going to bring this N down, just like we did before. It's so funny, I didn't realize that it was going to change all of our formatting. All right, and then this G, I'm just going to bring it up so that it's not so that it's lining up. All right, now when I click on it, you'll notice that it's not going to be centered. See how it's way far over here now? So I can just move the whole design over. Yep, that's great. And then I can hit the shift button to keep it centered, and then I can resize it to the size that looks good. All right, and then I will need to not be zoomed in to see if the sizing is good. So one thing I want to point out, if you decide to add wording, I would line it up with the bottom of their feet. That's what I'm picturing, because if you look at the overall picture, we want room for those acorns. We don't want those acorns covering the wording, so you don't want this wording too high. So I was thinking having it lined up with the bottom of their feet should give us enough space. All right, and then you can resize based on how far. You don't want it too far down in the hoop. That's why I kept to my 6x10 hoop, so that, because when I do my 7x12 hoop, I'll look like I have a lot more room. And of course, I don't want to have that. I want to have it lined up within the 6x10, because the design itself is a 6x8. All right, so that looks really good. I like that a lot. I like that very much. So this N is a little bit too low, which is kind of funny, because if I were to change the line spacing right now, then I'd have to do all of that changes again. So you have to really want it changed to redo all that. See what I'm saying? That N is a little close to the dot on the I, and it's fine. But if you were to change it, just keep in mind it will change all of that formatting again, and you'll have to do all of that part again. So something to keep in mind. All right, so that looks really good. I'm going to go back to this untitled one, because what was that one? This one. So that's another font. You know, this is the one I'm using. This was Lily. If I recall, letters Lily in a 1-inch, but this one that was Willie by Designs by Juju in a 1-inch is awfully cute too. You would have to change the sizing of that A and R, or if it looks good to you, you don't have to, of course. I prefer it a little bit smaller. So I like that one too, but I wanted to show you how to work with a script font, because it is different. You can see you have to make some changes to it. You don't just type it in and hit return and it's done. That working with the script font is a little bit different. All right, so that looks really good. I really like it. Again, that line spacing, you could have it be not quite so tight if you chose. You also could, if you wanted, you could highlight the is carrying, let me see, and move it over a tiny bit, but then it's not going to really be lined up. You could do whatever. So this looks good. I'm going to leave it, I think. I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm going to think on it a bit. So in the meantime, I am going to bring in that quilting design. So right now we've got the squirrels and the acorns design, and then we have our letters. Another thing to point out is that if you're using a letter font that has all of the threads different, so that you can change, you could have multiple colors on your word, and you don't want it to do that, your machine's going to stop over and over. So you could change all of the fonts, all of the word, all of the letters to the same color, so that it won't stop. So just pointing that out, because I know like Planet Applique, a lot of them, they have different colors set up. And that's a nice thing to have. It also, if you were to do that, and like say you don't like cutting jump stitches, so on this one you wouldn't be able to get away from it, but on the ones that leave a little jump stitch in between the letters, a way to get around that, because some people, like if your eyes aren't so good, and or you just really don't like cutting jump stitches, if you were to change the thread color of every letter, it is going to tie off on your machine. If your machine does that, it'll tie off on your machine and jump to the next letter, and then you don't have any jump stitches. So, but you would have to sit there and keep hitting go on your machine every time. So whatever works for you, just giving you a couple little hints there. All right, so now I'm going to go to merge stitch file, and I'm going to bring in the quilting design. Here's my quilting bundle. We want weave 2 embroidery files. Pez is what I use. And I am going to look for a 6x8 down here. 6x8 weave 2 in horizontal. So right there. And that's because the design is going to be turned. So that's fine. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rotate the design. I have to click on the stitching of just the quilting, or you could click on this number 3 up here, and that would get all of them. Either way works fine. And you could turn the other 2 designs sideways. It doesn't matter, but they all obviously have to be going the same way. Plus it shows that it's too big for my hoop right now, which it still is going to be. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rotate this right and click outside so nothing is selected. And you can see I'm too big for my hoop right now because of that 6.5 inch that, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and change my hoop size. I'm going to go to Preferences, and I'm going to change to my 7x12 hoop, say okay, and then I'm going to rotate that hoop, and there we go. All right, so that design is done. I'm going to click on this compass and click H, and that looks really good. I really like that. Don't forget, you have to move this quilting. You don't want the quilting at the end of the design. It will be on top of everything, including your batting will be on top. So make sure to change that. So I'm just closing that folder. I'm going to right click on number 3, this design. My right click button on my mouse doesn't seem to want to work, so that's okay. I'm going to click on the design. Oh, there we go. And then right click from there and click move first. All right, because we want that to be the first thing. So then we have our quilting and our squirrels, and then our lettering if you chose to do some lettering. And hopefully that was helpful to learn how to do a script font. And like I said, there are other fonts too. I chose this one specifically so that I could show you how to work with the script font. I might go back and make this, I might start all over so that my eye isn't quite so close. It's funny that you have to figure that out beforehand. The other thing that would be really easy, like I mentioned earlier, is you could click on just the is carrying part. Let's see if you can do that. If you clicked on the 2-line text, you can't seem to click it. It's all one thing. So you would have to have it be 2 separate. So that's an idea too. If you had one line sharing and then the next line is carrying, you wouldn't have to worry about that line spacing, and you could move it over a tiny bit. You could do some changes. If you didn't do that 2-line text, you could do it in a 1-line and then do another import of another wording and with the same formatting, and that would be a really easy way to do it. I might do that actually. That would be pretty cool. So that would be, let me just show you real quick what that would look like. So if we're on letters, I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and I'm going to go to 1 line, and see there goes my formatting. So that's what I was talking about. You'd have to start all over. That's kind of a bummer. But then if you did it again, yeah, Control V doesn't work. So you'd have to bring in the next word. So I'm going to go to undo. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it because I liked how that was. I'm going to leave that as is. But if you, like I said, if you did it as 1 line for sharing and then another bring in another create letters and put in the is carrying, then you don't have to know about lining it up just right. I'm probably going to go ahead and redo it that way. But anyway, so you got to see how to do this. Make sure to do a file, save stitch file as. If you think you'll go back and work on this later or change the font or anything like that, then you want to save it as a working file as well. That's what I did on that other one, this one, so that I could show you all the different fonts. All right. So anyway, then send it to your USB or to your machine, and let's get stitching. with your goal. So I'm working hard on it. I'm eating healthy, and it's hard because I want caramel. I want caramel, and it's almost Halloween, so there's candy everywhere, but I'm doing really good. So I am telling myself that this weekend, if I'm good all during the week, this weekend I'm going to give myself a little treat. I haven't decided what yet, but I'm definitely leaning toward that. I think that would be a good little reward for getting through the week. But I have 3.5 pounds to goal, and so not much time to do it either. So I really should be super focused and working hard on it, but I'm pretty happy with how things are. So I'm working at it though. My husband and I went and climbed Table Rock the other day, and that's always such a good workout. And he's a little bit slower than I am, and so I go up. I go ahead, and we talk for a while first, and then I go ahead, and then I come back down and climb the parts with him, and then keep doing that. And so I got a little bit extra of a workout, and that was the first time that I've done that. So it's funny, it didn't work out to be a lot of extra climbing. I was hoping it would give me like a higher number with the climbing, and it still was a little less than 900 feet of climbing, but it felt really good. I enjoyed it and got time with him and time alone and time pushing myself to get my heart rate up higher, because that's when you burn calories, right? So anyway, it was a good workout. What are you doing toward your goal? And my shirt today, this is the one, the sewing machine from Designs by Juju. It's a very simple stitch out. Like if you want something quick and easy to do, this is a great set. And it had several different sewing options. And I don't remember if it was different machines or machines and other things like scissors and whatever. But I added to it, I had it say, sewing makes me happy. So yesterday, my niece came over and she was here all afternoon, and we worked on a project together, a crafting project together, and had so much fun. And it was hard to connect because we both have a lot going on, and yet once we got together, we just had so much fun, and we're chatting and laughing and having a great old time together. And it's so fun to have someone to do this hobby of ours with us, right? So we had a really good time. So definitely sewing makes me happy is a good shirt for today. The shirt itself is from Amazon, and I love this one. And I thought about ordering more the other day, but it is a short sleeve, and we're getting cold here soon. It's not yet. It's like 76 today, I think. Not yet, but it will be. So I'm pretty excited about that. This whole week should be pretty good. So I'll be wearing lots of my short sleeve shirts, but then next week, oh, it's gonna get cold. So anyway, this shirt, great one to embroider on. I will add a link here of where you can get it from Amazon. It's a really great shirt to embroider on. And then pretty soon we're going to be embroidering on sweaters.